Welcome to Bilingual Analytics, where you can learn a lot about Microsoft Power BI. My name is Roland, and I'm going to be your host today. In this tutorial, I show you how to move away from using Excel files as your source to Dataverse. Dataverse? What is that? I'm not surprised that you asked this question. Up until a few weeks ago, I had no idea what that is, and how come that it has a dedicated button within Power BI. Long story short, Dataverse or Common Data Service is the connection point between Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. But it is not limited to Dynamics 365 users. If you want to learn a bit more about this tool, I add some links to the video description which can help you to start your journey with Dataverse. But today I focus on the benefits and challenges of using Dataverse as the source for a Power BI report. In this video series about Power BI connectors, I try to find the best possible data source to use, both from a performance perspective and from a business continuity point of view. This means that I'm on the hunt for a data source that provides quick refresh times and the best options to share the data within the organization. If you don't want to miss any further episodes, make sure to subscribe to the channel. While you're at it, a quick click on the like button wouldn't hurt either. Thanks. I must be as objective as possible in these videos. To ensure objectivity, I'm going to use the exact same report, the same dataset, and the same PC to measure the different connectors. As a result of that, it could be considered an A/B testing, where the only variant is going to be the Power BI connector type. First of all, I measure report refresh speed using Phil Seamark's Visualize Your Power BI Refresh report. It is a great tool to have, and Phil made it available for all of us with a tutorial on how to run it and, more importantly, how to analyze the results. Links are in the description below. Thanks, Phil. Please keep in mind that I'm going to use my dummy dataset that I created specifically for this video series, and I will use it in all demos to ensure consistency. As always, your mileage may vary, but I reckon it's a pretty good method to objectively measure refresh time at my end. Secondly, when it comes to business continuity, I'm going to focus on data availability. One of the best ways to do that is by measuring ease of access to the data from report creators' point of view. It is quite important to have clean data available, so other report creators don't have to go through the same data cleansing exercise again and again and again. We all like to reuse datasets. Additionally, it is possible that people leave or switch jobs, so businesses must prepare for that option as well. If a business critical report is only available on someone's laptop, that's a huge risk and a massive no-no. And lastly, I will share my experience on how easy or difficult it is to implement the solution covered in the video. It will be a bit more challenging to objectively measure that bit, given that we all have different backgrounds and skill sets, so for this point, I'm probably only going to list pros and cons. Based on that, you can decide if you want to go ahead with a certain option or not. Now that we have our ground rules set, it is time to head over to my PC to see what it takes to move away from Excel source to Dataverse. I'm using a star or snowflake schema because I know that the most important thing to optimize when it comes to refresh times and report speed is the data model itself. When it comes to the data, I'm picking up Excel files from a network drive for the dimension tables and using a folder as a source for my fact sales table. Following Phil's blog post, I was able to trace report refresh timings for this Power BI report connected to Excel files on a network, and what you see right now on the screen is the result. Managed to refresh the report within 2 minutes and 59 seconds. My fact table and calculated calendar table taking the most time from the refresh. At this stage, it's also important to mention that I connected to a network hosted by my friend just to allow me to simulate a scenario that many of us go through in real life. I also tried to connect to data stored on my NAS, however, as it sits on my local network, I realized that it wouldn't be a true or real comparison to what's happening in real life. In most companies, data needs to go through a VPN or come from the other side of the planet from a company data warehouse. If you want to see speed that can be achieved with local files, have a look at the blog post. I added the link to the description below. Now that we have a baseline, it is time to import data to Dataverse. Because I don't have Dynamics 365, for obvious reasons, I imported data using Power Query Online. Let me show you how. I'm going to start from Power Apps homepage. Then on the left hand side, head over to Data and click on Data Flows. These are the data flows that I use to get all of my data to Dataverse. I have to be honest here, I faced quite a few challenges with some of the tables, but I'm going to assume it was because I'm a Power App newbie. The fact table or monthly sales data took quite a few hours to import. I'll come back to this point later in the video. But essentially, these are regular data flows with a twist at the end about where to load the data. Once all the data was loaded, I headed over to Power BI and clicked on the dedicated Dataverse button to get data. My domain is Bilingual Analytics, and this information is available under Power Up settings and session details. Just make sure that you get rid of the HTTP bit and all the extra stuff. As the purpose of this video is to compare refresh speed, I went with import mode. After I click on OK, I need to locate the table and select that. It's fairly similar to any other data import options. Let's find the channel table. Once the table is loaded into Power BI, you will find a bunch of other fields. Now these fields are auto-generated fields to ensure database integrity. As Dataverse is geared towards citizen developers, all of the database musts are auto-created for users. Fields like creation date, modified date, created by date. But once we clean up all of that, we can get to the same structure that we would normally get from an Excel import. Now all of my queries are pointed to Dataverse and they no longer have all those ugly fields. If I click on the data source settings, you can see that I'm connected to my Dataverse environment. Now it is time to see if the magic really worked. No, it does not work. The reason behind that is a limitation of the connector itself. It can only handle result sets not greater than 80 MB, which is ridiculously small in my opinion. But there is a fix for that, or at least something that I can try. Chopping up the monthly sales details to years and then appending those queries. I have roughly 200,000 lines per year, and with 14 columns it should fit very well within the 80 MB limit. So let's do it. Still doesn't work. While the end result would only be 14 columns, there is no way to only load those columns or fields that I need from Dataverse. I have to load in the whole lot. I tried to read about ways of overcoming this issue, and the only solution I found was going back to Common Data Service connector, which means that I will be connected to my dimension tables with Dataverse, and to my fact table with the CDS connector type. It's suboptimal. If you know any other ways of fixing it, please let me know in the comments below. This is the final version of the file that I prepared for today. Under the data source settings, we can find two different connectors. one for Dataverse and the other one is for the Common Data Service connector. So we still have our data model with all the relationships, and if you go back to the report, all the report pages are still there. This means that we have successfully migrated our report to Dataverse and CDS. And as a final step, I used Phil's method to trace my refresh speed, and you can see the results here. It took almost 10 minutes to refresh the data. It is absolute bonkers. Alright, so we imported data into Dataverse, making it available for others within the team as well. As we saw, the report refresh times were nowhere near anything that we have seen before. It is due to a couple of limitations within Dataverse and of course the limitations within the CDS connector as well. I'm not going to lie, it took me much more time and effort to record this video than what I anticipated. At almost every step I came across either some issues or limitations that made this recording way too difficult. In the video description below, I'll add lots of links where you can also read about these limitations. It is clear to see that we cannot improve report refresh times, so let's shift our focus to business continuity and data availability. Just like with OneDrive, when I moved data to Dataverse, I was able to increase data availability within the team. Although the data is available, I must admit, it may not be that easy to use the data. As you saw it, once we import data using the Dataverse connector, lots of technical fields are going to be imported as well. It could be a little bit overwhelming for business users. I think I have already highlighted a couple of challenges with Dataverse. Not because I don't like this option, purely because I can see why certain companies and report creators may decide not to utilize it. If you want to use it, please also keep in mind the Dataverse database capacity limit, which is tied to the number of users. I think it has the potential to be a bottleneck in the implementation. Also, it is a fairly new tool. While I was able to pick up most of the important bits at a very high level based on Microsoft Learn, the devil is in the details, or in our case, in the documentation. As I mentioned before, it was really difficult to go back to the documentation at every step to find the reasons behind an issue. Lastly, let's talk about ease of migration. While it is a solution, I think we can all agree that it's far from ideal, and given that it was difficult to even get there, it puts me in a very awkward position. In my view, and this is my personal opinion, Dataverse in its current format cannot be used as a data source for a full-scale enterprise reporting based on everything that I have flagged so far in this video. However, I have a feeling that Microsoft has some plans with Dataverse, and on a longer run, some of those limitations will go away. Then it could potentially be much more powerful. In the meantime, it is a great solution for citizen developers to create a low-code, no-code application with a proper database automatically created at the back end of the application. And maybe this is where Microsoft drew the line for the current implementation of Dataverse. I'm going to record a few more videos about data source options, so either come back next week or check out the dedicated playlist for all the tools that I help you to explore. Make sure to comment below if there is any particular Power BI data connector that you want me to cover. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope that all of it made sense and you learned something new today. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on your way out or before you watch any tutorials like these ones. See ya!